From Eden's garden came a word so clear and strong.
Welcome. We are excited to have you here today. Today we are going to explore the hidden history behind 1 Timothy chapter 2, 11 to 15, which reads, "Let a woman learn in silence with all submission, and I do not permit a woman to teach or have authority over a man, but be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve, and Adam was not deceived, but the woman, being deceived, fell into transgression. Nevertheless, she will be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith, love, and holiness with self-control." The Ephesians, and for that matter, 1 Timothy chapter 2, were written to a specific people to address a specific situation, to give a specific response. The Bible means what God and the human authors intended it to mean. But that does not mean that we can understand everything to the fullest possible degree. So sometimes background information, thus the historical cultural context, is necessary to understand difficult Bible verses and their application to believers today. On the surface, 1 Timothy 2 sounds awful. It sounds like a gag order. If you are a skeptic, your moral compass rightly recoils at that. You think if God hates women, you want nothing to do with him. But reading the Bible without its history is like walking into a courtroom, hearing only the final sentence of a judge, and assuming you know the whole story. Today, let's stop defending or attacking this text. Instead, let's play historical detective and step into the historical cultural context of Ephesus, the ancient city where this letter was sent. And so today, we are going to have an honest look at 1 Timothy chapter 2 and deconstruct one of the Bible's hardest verses. Now, to understand this verse, we have to understand the city of Ephesus. Ephesus was not a standard male-dominated Roman town. It was the global headquarters of the cult of Artemis. The temple of Artemis was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. This modern description gives an idea of the influence and impact of this pagan cult on the city of Ephesus and its vicinity. This pagan cult controlled the economy, the banking system, and the political life of the city. Crucially, this cult was entirely run by women. In Ephesus, women held supreme financial, religious, and social authority. Furthermore, local mythology taught a woman-first narrative. They believed the goddess Artemis was born before her twin brother, Apollo. Therefore, Ephesian culture taught that women were spiritually superior to men. In addition, they had false creation narratives. This women-first mythology directly influenced the local Gnostic heresies that Paul addresses later in the chapter, where false teachers claimed Eve was created before Adam and that Adam was the one deceived. Moreover, cult practices and worship of Artemis involved loud, chaotic shouting, ecstatic trances, and disruptive behavior. Wealthy women used cult gatherings to display elaborate braided hairstyle, gold, and expensive pearls as symbols of high status. When these wealthy women from the Artemis cult converted to Christianity, they brought that exact rowdy worship culture right into the living rooms of the early church. They were used to shouting, dominating and claiming spiritual supremacy, but they lacked any training in the Jewish scriptures or Christian gospel. And so Paul wasn't writing a universal rule to silence women. He was pulling a pastoral emergency brake on a specific church spinning out of control. Therefore, Paul's opening phrase is actually a revolutionary, progressive command for his time. Give women a seat at the table, enroll them, but he adds they must learn in silence with all submission. To a modern ear, that sounds degrading, but in the ancient world, silence and submission did not mean slavery. It was the standard mandatory posture of any first-year student sitting under a rabbi or philosopher. You had to listen and learn the core teachings before you could speak or teach others. Because these Ephesians women were highly influential but completely uneducated in the scriptures, they were easily deceived by false teachers. Paul's solution wasn't to exclude them. His solution was to educate them before they are allowed to teach. This wasn't a gag order, it was an enrollment order. Again, to understand the atmosphere of the church Timothy was pastoring, we have to look at what happened when Paul first preached the gospel there. We see how volatile this was in Acts chapter 19 from verse 23 to 41. When the Apostle Paul first preached the gospel in Ephesus, the Artemis cult started a massive citywide riot. Acts 19:32 describes the scene. The assembly was in confusion. Some were shouting one thing, some another. Most of the people did not even know why they were there. For 2 straight hours, a chaotic crowd hysterically chanted, "Great is Artemis of Ephesians." The cultural clash was that this environment of loud, ecstatic, chaotic shouting was the only religious framework these people knew, of which they brought into the church. And so again, Paul's solution was not to exclude women, but to educate them before they are allowed to teach. Now, in conclusion, the veracity, the absolute truth of Scripture is not defended by hiding from its hardest verses. It is proven when we dare to look closer. When we peel back the historical layers of Ephesus, we don't find a God who oppresses women. We find a God who looks at a city driven mad by a chaotic, exploitative pagan cult and steps in to bring peace. We find a God who looks at uneducated women and insists they be given a theological education. So, my challenge to you today is simple. Don't dismiss the Bible based on a surface level reflection. Don't walk away from Jesus because of a verse stripped of its history. Judge Scripture by its historical depth and judge it by its ultimate climax. A cross where Jesus Christ broke down every wall of hostility to make us all equal before God. If you are seeking truth today, don't stop at the surface. Keep digging. The truth you find at the bottom is rock solid. Thank you for joining us today. The Lord bless and keep you.